We got Skelly back here on the program. He's going to be taking on Bobby Moffett at UFC Fight Night 139 in Denver on November 10th. Chaz, what's going on, man? How are you?
I'll just living the dream. How you doing?
I'm doing very well. Now, it's been a while since we've seen you in the cage. Of course, you haven't fought since May of 2017. I'm guessing injuries are part of that. What was the reason for the layoff?
Yeah, I had surgery after my last fight, so a little layoff and then recovery. But I'm good now.
What was the injury that you had?
I had Tommy John surgery on my right arm.
Oh, shit. Jeez. That's crazy.
Yeah.
How was the recovery on that?
It was slow at first, but then, once it was healed, it's like perfect, so it's fine.
Did you feel like a baseball player? I know you're a big baseball fan. That's usually a surgery that they get.
Yeah, I actually, the guy who did my surgery was the surgeon for the Texas Rangers, and I was in there the day after I had my surgery. I came into the rehab center, and a guy who was a pitcher for the Texas, or is a pitcher for the Texas Rangers, Chichi Gonzalez. I've actually went to a game and watched him pitch before. He was in there, and he was like, "Hey, man," we kind of introduced himself, and we chatted a little bit. And then when I moved back to Florida, the guy who I went to for rehab, he was going to the same place, so we kind of did our rehab together. It was cool.
Did you geek out at all? Because I know you're a big Rangers fan.
Well, at first I didn't realize who he was, and then I was like, "Oh shit, I've seen you pitch." So yeah, it was really cool, and he's a super nice guy too. So
good stuff, man. Well, we'll talk some baseball at the end because we always do here on the program. But first, man, your last fight, UFC 211. I know things didn't go your way against Jason Knight. What did you learn from that fight?
It's kind of one of those deals where I came in super prepared. Can't take anything away from me. Got hurt early in the fight, and I learned that I'm mentally tough. I'll tell you that. I mean, I was hurting throughout the whole fight, from the very beginning of the first round, and kind of gutted it out. And for me, I think, I don't know, there wasn't a lot that I could really take from it too much getting injured that early in the fight. But just, I was proud of myself for being, mentally tough, hanging in there, and then still trying to get the win. But it is what it is, it's a brutal sport.
Well, I was going to mention that because I think if you could take away a moral victory from the fight, it's that you're damn tough. I mean, a lot of other guys would have, fallen down and just, had to finish, but you were able to survive for as long as you had. So do you kind of take a little bit of that away at least and say, hey, man, I know what I'm capable of in a fight?
Yeah, for sure. I've always known that I was tough, but it's hard until you get a big injury like that during a fight, at the beginning of a fight especially, and keep going, that you really realize, when you're in there fighting, it's all just about staying in the zone, staying focused.
Taking on Bobby Moffett, who won on Contender Series. He trains out of the lab. How do you feel like you match up against him here?
I feel like it's a good matchup for me. He's a solid guy. I mean, good wrestler, good jiu-jitsu. I don't think he doesn't like to stand too much. So he looks for uses his striking to get into his takedowns, looks for a lot of takedowns. And, I think that's a really good matchup for me. I mean, I'm a good wrestler myself. I have really good jiu-jitsu myself. I do believe that my wrestling is going to be better than his, especially my defensive wrestling. I know that he probably has looked at a fight like say Darren Elkins, where I got taken down, and I lost that fight. But it was just kind of one of those fights, in this game, shit happens. You go through your camps, and you have good camps, you got bad camps, and that was kind of one of those for me that I knew in that Elkins fight I was going to have to finish him early, or else it was going to be a long night. And I didn't get the job done. It was a long night. So I don't think that's no indicator of my wrestling ability. That's no indicator of my jiu-jitsu ability. It just happened that way. But I know he's looking at that fight and saying, that's somebody that I fight kind of like, and that has beat me in the past. So, but overall, I think it's a great matchup for me.
Speaking of wrestling, you train with a lot of really good wrestlers. Who are some of the guys that you've been working with specifically for this camp for Bobby Moffett?
I work a lot with Nick Lentz. Nick Lentz is one of my main training partners out here. And then also, Michael Johnson, Des Green's here. There's got Marquez, this guy at our gym, Sean Soriano. We got, and, Greg Jones is a wrestling coach, a 3-time Division I national champ. So, Adam Borks is a good guy in Bellator. That's a good young guy. And so we've got a bunch of guys out here. Dom is also in Bellator, and he's got really good wrestling and jiu-jitsu. So, this last week I went over to Wagner Rocha's once this week or this last one. I'm going to be going there the rest of my camp just to get those extra jiu-jitsu rounds in. That guy's amazing on the ground. Also Gilbert Burns, go Gilbert too. So we got a lot of high-level guys here, So preparation's never an issue. It's really like any style, we pretty much have it covered out here.
How's the weight cut going?
Weight cut's good. I mean, I haven't started the weight cut yet. I diet down. I pretty much when I sign a fight, I start eating really clean and dieting down. I'm probably 65 right now. By the end of next week, I'll probably be 62, 63. And then come fight week, I'll come in at 56, 55, something like that. So it's not a hard weight cut for me anymore. It used to be brutal. I can't really take fights on super short notice usually because I start off pretty heavy, but the weight cuts are pretty easy. My last few fights, my nutritionist Douglas Fry, he's really good. He helps me a lot, and my last 2 weight cuts, I've spent a total of 30 minutes to an hour in the hot tub and just jumped on the scale, so no big deal.
How do you see this fight playing out on November 10th?
I don't know. I mean, I'm always going to prepare for a hard 3-round scrap. I think the guy's going to come in and look for some takedowns. I mean, I see myself coming out and pressuring him on the feet, and then him wanting to get takedowns, which that's kind of how I see it going. And when he shoots, I'll defend and start our scrambles, and I think it should be a good, exciting fight. I think there'll be a lot of good back and forth scrambles on the ground to make it a pretty exciting fight.
Last question before we let you go. Your Texas Rangers wrapped up the season. Are you feeling optimistic about next year? What do you think they need to do in the offseason?
What do we need to do in the offseason? I think that one of our biggest things is really get our rotation in line, man. I mean, we've always had the type of offense that can put up numbers, when everybody's healthy. We got a lot of, I'm optimistic because we've got a lot of young guys that look good, that have been looking really, really good. I think the thing that we really need to focus on is just our pitching rotation. Just get some guys healthy that haven't been healthy, and then bring some new talent in.
Good stuff. All right, man. Well, we'll keep an eye on that. We certainly got to keep an eye on this fight. It's coming up here November 10th. It is UFC Fight Night 139. Chaz, always appreciate you taking the time, man. Just remind people where they can find you on social media. And if you have any sponsors or shout-outs, the floor is yours, man.
Yeah, you guys can find me at Chaz Skelly. Pretty easy. Pretty much everything, Twitter, Instagram, and then my Facebook is just Chaz Skelly. Growing Naturals been my sponsor for protein. I've been doing my strength conditioning over at Barwis here in Fort Lauderdale, and then Hard Knocks 365 is my gym. Henry Hoof, Greg Jones, Cammy, and so all those guys are really helping me out.